From VentureX Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
Well, good morning. Hello. Welcome to JP, Kathy, and the crew. How are y'all? So good to see y'all today. And, of course, we have in studio Laythan Watts, who is our guest co-host for the day, and he will be giving us a First Liberty update. You can't make any announcements yet on anything, but you've got an article out, another article out, so we'll talk about that. A couple other things to talk about. Wanted to start off, and I'll give folks a few more minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about Mental Health Month, May being Mental Health Awareness Month. I don't know about, well, I would imagine in Denton County too. I know in Collin County, we got a notification that some of Biden's cuts are impacting us here with our funding for mental health in Collin County, which we don't have any money to give up in that area. So that's kind of frightening. But just to kind of talk about the seriousness of it. But first of all, I would like to, and you know what, as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to send a picture to you, Nathaniel, to see if we can get this up on the screen. A number of you, if you go to Kathy Partridge Ward or John Edward Payton, a number of members of the crew have also sent this out. A dear friend of mine, her kids went to St. Mark's Catholic School some of the same years my kids did. Our sons were friends back in the day when they were younger. My daughter babysat for both her boys, and still Emily and or CJ have done pet setting when they're out of town. So this is oh shoot. Well, that was my reminder to talk about this today. So there you go. Good timing, Kathy. My girlfriend, Deidre Shelton, her son, Jacob Williams, is missing. He is 15. I'm going to send this picture to you via email. Do you want me to send it to the VentureX email? Okay. And if you'll go to, here we go. I've got, let me see. They've got a new picture up that's a little bit clearer, so I'm going to send this one. He left Vines High School with a young lady by the name of Amaria Gollin. I think that's how you say it. Actually, Nathaniel, can I text it to you? Will that? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Let me do that because I've got your texting information up. They left around lunchtime, Vines High School here in Plano on Friday. So right around noon is the last time anybody has physically seen them, and that was on video leaving Vines High School, and they have not been seen since. Just if you can, and we'll put their pictures up on the screen in just a second, and we'll put that up again at the end of the show. Nathaniel, will you remind me to put that up again? Just very frightening. They left. They had not packed, so this wasn't a planned runaway. They are registered with the National Runaway Database, so if you see them out anywhere, they think maybe they're still in the area, somewhere in the Plano and contiguous city area. So if you do see them, please get in touch with the police right away. Their parents, both families, are scared to death. They want their kids home. I don't know the young lady, but I do know Jacob. He's a great kid, and like I said, they didn't plan this. They didn't take money with them, credit cards with them. They didn't pack extra clothes. So we want to make sure we get them home safely and to their family, and just to Deidre and her family. Love y'all, praying for y'all, and if the crew can help spread the word. And thank you to those of you who have already shared this post, but if you can help spread the word, we sure would appreciate it. So just scary, you know, and
it's every parent's nightmare.
It really is. You just dealing with the unknown like that, it just must be so frightening. Deidre's husband is a police officer. Now, not in the Collin County area, but if anybody knows what's up in a situation like that, thank goodness she's got him. But just very, very frightening, and just can't ask for prayers enough. Just can't ask for prayers enough. In thinking of that, we've got May, which is Mental Health Month. Are you seeing extra things? Are you and your wife seeing extra things from the school or from organizations that the girls are with, kind of talking about your kids' mental health by any chance?
I don't recall seeing anything. Most of the communication from the school, typically goes to Kim, because
Yeah.
my email address is where information goes to die. So,
I love it.
so she may
Thank
she
you,
may
Nathaniel.
have seen something, and we just haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. But I'm not aware of anything.
Okay. Because obviously, and unfortunately, teenage suicide is on the rise. All of these, I gave some numbers from Cook Children's Hospital out in Fort Worth a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, you've got kids as young as 7 years old trying to commit suicide. I mean, this. If anybody thinks, and whatever you think about the coronavirus, about vaccines, put all that aside. This pandemic has literally taken such a bad knock on adults' mental health and well-being. I mean, alcohol use, drug abuse, spousal abuse,
Right.
child abuse is all up. More people are back either on antidepressant or anti-anxiety medicine, either an increased dose, on it for the first time, or back on it after years of not being on
Right.
it. And then I have talked to so many of my mom friends whose kids are on antidepressants right now, because it's just, this pandemic's just been hell.
Yeah, it really exacerbated anything that was already in place.
Yes.
If the people were already dealing with something like that, it really has made it
Yes.
worse. And then
Yes,
for
very
others
well
that
said.
maybe weren't before, now they are.
Yeah.
And if they haven't dealt with it before and they don't know really what to do
And where
or,
to
or
turn.
where to turn, how to
Yeah.
deal with it, then it's. I mean, the numbers bear it out, just like you said. Just about everything that's bad that you can measure has gone up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And isolation is has to be the key factor in what's causing a lot of this. I mean, when you've had people who have, like you said, regardless of what you think about, the virus or the measures taken to combat the virus, that there is no denying.
Yeah, you cannot deny this other. You cannot.
That the isolation that people are, especially, in the last year, even though now in Texas things are pretty well, opened up, but, we're not meant to, it is not good for man to be alone.
No,
right?
it's not.
God said that in the garden.
Yes.
And
Yes. I mean, this is biblical, believe it or not, but it is.
yeah. I mean, we're
not meant to be isolated.
We're social animals.
Yes, we are. Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. I noticed that my, like, I don't talk about this all the time. My son goes to School of Rock, and, we love the program. I've said several times on this show with him, he goes to a STEAM project-based learning school in Plano. He goes to the academy. And so it's always been very hands-on. You're up,
Right.
you're doing field trips. You've got people coming in from all different professions. You're up doing presentations. You're interacting. It's not a sit in your desk kind of a school. And to go all of a sudden to 3 days a week now
Right.
online and just 2 days at school. But when they're at school, the teachers rotate to them now. And it's this big, beautiful building that they're in. They've got, they've got to wear their masks, their social distance, so they don't get to interact like they normally do. Oh, God bless you for the caffeine
You're
there.
a scholar and a gentleman.
Yes. And are we broadcasting on the JPK Facebook page? Somebody just asked me. I know we're on several other platforms right now, but somebody was asking if we were on the JPK. Okay, well, we'll see, and if not, we'll share it at the end of the show. But we've got, so I get this thing from, and I like I said, School of Rock, music for him has been a lifeline.
Sure.
Mentally. At least when they couldn't get together and they couldn't go to school at all, and nobody was letting anybody's kids hang out with anybody and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you have 2 teenage daughters, you know how it is.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that they're as old as they are during this. I can't imagine people that have young kids that have like kindergartners, first graders, that you're trying to have them sit still in front of a computer screen for 8 hours.
That's not their gig at all.
Not at all. And but even the school that my girls go to, a classical academy, charter school, a big part of what they do is involved in thinking and discussing and forming an idea and defending an idea. So, I mean, they have classes where that's really all they do is discuss a big idea. And that's very, very difficult to do via Zoom. Yeah. Even when Zoom is working like it's supposed to, because
it's not always.
I mean, I'm sure
it's not always.
You probably had the same experience I have. I'm completely zoomed out. Yeah. Where, how many times like you start to talk, somebody else starts to talk, and then you stop, and you're like, okay, you go. No, you go. Oh, you're muted. No, turn your. My video is working, but my audio is.
Yeah.
And you're trying to have a discussion with 20 people.
It's a beatdown. And then there have been even I lost out on being a national elector by one vote because one person who was voting for me, who would have kicked it over to me, being one of the either Senator Cruz or Senator Cornyn's representative, she got kicked off of Zoom, and they said we didn't make any rules for that, so sorry. But, it's just kind of like, oh well, hey.
I've pretty much reached the point where I'm rejecting almost every Zoom invitation. I've
kind of started even going to audio or putting my face up because I'm just like, or my picture up because I'm just like, if it works and I can jump in on the conversation, great. Right. If not, oh well. And I find smaller Zoom meetings work better now.
Absolutely.
Than, like I even had a Zoom prayer meeting with 4 of us the other night. And it was kind of impromptu. But it worked out well because everybody had talked enough ahead of the Zoom call, so we kind of knew who was going to start praying, who was going to finish us up, and and everybody was just cordial and let everybody go, in a timely fashion. But getting back to the whole the mental health stuff, so the online music, that was rehearsing online, turning stuff in, hearing your music spliced with somebody else's, so you could kind of get a feel for how it's going to sound when you're back together, was a lifeline. And I was really excited. I was excited to see that they were doing this, but then I was really sad because that means there's such a need. The School of Rock there's a free seminar, webinar tonight that I'm going to go on that's, all about suicide and teenagers and just what to do, how to get help, how to look for signs. And I'm always hungry for any kind of information, especially as a mom, you're always looking for anything. And I thought, and so I signed up for that this evening at 7, but I just thought, wow, all the years he's gone there, everything's always happy stuff. Hey, here's a concert t-shirt. You want this? Concert poster. You want this? Oh, your kids everybody's doing great. We love music. It's awesome. And then all of a sudden you get this really heavy email saying suicide rate is higher than ever for teenagers. Here at School of Rock, we take, mental health of your children very seriously. So I thought it was kind of sad that, well, again, I'm happy they're doing that, but what a sad statement on where we are, that's there's a need for that with a group that normally doesn't think of that, know.
Yeah, so, I mean, we were kind of lucky, the charter school they go to announced, at the beginning of the school year when things were still semi-locked down, they're like, well, we're going to start out online, but then after Labor Day, everybody's going to have the option. You can come back in person or you can stay online. And I think it was about 85% of the kids came back. And I mean, nobody was surprised. Yeah. There were a handful that stayed home.
Some families, they might have like an elderly relative who's got a compromised immune system or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I told her, or, I've got a girlfriend who her daughter's in elementary school, but, she has severe asthma. Like on a good month, she's in the emergency room a couple of times anyways, not with COVID.
Right.
I'd keep my kid at home too.
Absolutely.
But if your kid's healthy and, the school's taking the correct precautions, get him back back there.
Yeah.
Get him back to school, Yeah. Well, okay, so we've got Laythan has an article out, and then he's got an announcement about the network to make today. And then in a little while, we'll have Senator Paxton on live from Austin. So take it away. What's the latest article about? I need to put that up on our Facebook.
Yeah, so I've got a piece up at the Daily Signal called, and I love to write, but I'm terrible at writing the title of things, so I don't even attempt anymore.
Does somebody write that for you?
I'm pretty sure they slapped a title on it.
Oh, I love it.
But if you go to dailysignal.com, it says Arkansas looks to protect religious liberty and state constitution.
Yes.
And this was the Arkansas legislature passed this right towards the end of the session. They got it done, and basically what it does is it takes almost the exact language of their state law, which is the state version of RFRA, Religious Freedom Restoration Act,
right?
But adds it as an amendment to the state constitution. So that means it will go to the voters to approve it on the next general election ballot. So next year, the people of Arkansas in 22.
A year from this November.
Correct.
They'll have a chance.
The people of Arkansas will have a chance to add that to their constitution. And the ACLU...
Which, wait, we the people gets to decide by a vote?
Right, imagine that.
That is, what is that you speak of,
yeah.
Laythan?
Who'd have thunk it? The founding fathers, that's who.
I know, yeah. Some very wise gentlemen a while back.
Yeah. So the ACLU immediately claimed it was one of the most extreme measures in the nation. And so the article sort of begins with, and you've got it on the screen here, but if you adapted the old advertising slogan from the American company, known for its jams and jellies and preserves, with a name like Smucker's that has to be good, to the American Civil Liberties Union, it might read something like, if the ACLU labels your action one of the most extreme in the nation, it has to be a good idea. And
okay.
so then the piece just kind of goes from there, and basically, some may look at it and go, well, you've already got the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and you've got the federal RFRA, and Arkansas has the state version of RFRA in their statutes, so what do you need this for? Well, there's a really good reason why you need it. And when you look at Supreme Court decisions that have dealt with religious liberty issues that have just sort of casually acknowledged, well, there might be religious liberty issues related to this decision, like the Obergefell decision from Justice Kennedy, like the Bostock opinion from Justice Gorsuch.
Yep.
In some courtrooms, the First Amendment just ain't what it used to be. So, yes, you do have the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Yes, you do have federal RFRA, but you also have probably heard by now that the House passed the Equality Act, which would basically is almost a repeal of RFRA at the federal level.
It is, exactly.
So then you get down, if a federal legislature can do that, some future state legislature could do the same for Arkansas's statute, and it's much harder to change the Constitution. So if the people do this by a vote statewide and they include it in the Constitution, then the only way you're going to change that is if the people vote on it again to repeal it.
Right.
So it's more than just this is like belt and suspenders approach. It's really not.
No, this is a very this is a way to definitely protect it and make it to where it's we the people that will be deciding on this, yes or no, and that's great. Everybody go out and campaign on your side of the issue, but then it has to go back to we the people again to ever be overturned.
Right. Exactly.
Which is the way it should be.
And that's how it's as it should be. And isn't
that crazy that you have to kind of get government going in that direction?
Well, in one way I'm encouraged that they are, because
definitely.
It's sort of a rediscovery of federalism, right? I mean the 9th and the 10th Amendment make it very clear that unless it is an enumerated power in this Constitution, we're talking about the U.S. Constitution,
right?
Unless it's an enumerated power of the federal government, or not prohibited to the states, then via the 9th Amendment, it's reserved for the people, or the 10th Amendment, it's reserved for the states. And so the original Bill of Rights was not applied to the states until after the Civil War, because the U.S. Constitution was written solely to limit the federal government.
Right.
It really had very little to do with states. You set your governments up the way you want to. Yep. This is establishing the federal government, what it can and can't do.
Right.
And so
you need to do a series where you go out and do maybe you should do it on this show where we do an extra a thing just on the Bill of Rights, because when you're saying some of this stuff now, I'm like, but you've really got to go back and understand some of the very basics, which a lot of folks didn't get in school. Let's face it.
I mean the Bill of Rights was, when it was written, and added to the original draft of the Constitution. Madison didn't really think that it was going to be a list of 10 things tacked on at the end.
Right.
He thought the language of all of those things were going to be written into the text of the Constitution.
Right.
It ended up the way it is, and it may be better, because maybe it's it's easier just to go, okay, number one is this, number two is this, number three is this. But it was not intended to be applied to the states. So then after the Civil War, you have 3 amendments passed in short order: 13th, 14th, and 15th. The 14th Amendment has the equal protection and due process
Right.
For all citizens, and that amendment, and then the Supreme Court's subsequent decisions called the Incorporation Doctrine, basically then via the 14th Amendment applies the Bill of Rights to the states.
Right.
And so ever since then, the U.S. Constitution has been seen as sort of a floor, but not a ceiling.
Right.
In other words, states, you can enact greater protections for your citizens than the U.S. Constitution has.
Right.
You just can't do less.
You just can't go less.
This is this is the basic minimum. This is what you have to respect.
So then you've got to appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, this is the bare bones. You don't go past this. But if you as a state, and again, so then it depends on who you've put into office as
Sure.
a state legislator. It depends on who the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the governor is of your state. So again, getting back to all of these elections are ginormously important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if you voted these folks in, whether you like them or you don't, depending on which majority party is in, then they can craft additional rules, so to speak, best practices, if you will, for the state, which is really the way it should be. Here's the thing, for example, something that, and we talk, this is why I can't stand it, and we've talked about this before. When the federal government is trying to shove something down my throat, I'm like, you know what?
Sure.
You guys are so out of touch with what's going on here in Collin County, Texas. You're kidding me. Perfect example right now, all the stuff with the border.
Right.
Here, my goodness. Thank goodness we're in a legislative session, so we've got a chance to do something about it right now in the state of Texas. I don't know why the White House is not acknowledging that we've got a humanitarian crisis on our hands.
Sure.
You've got, you'll have 90 grown men shoved in the walls of a stash house. Where is that okay? Where is that, just as a human being, is that okay that that's happening?
And that's one of the issues.
That's not even talking about the kids.
One of the few. I mean, if you read the Constitution, there's a pretty short list of things the federal government is supposed to be in charge of.
Yep.
And national sovereignty is one of them. Sovereignty means borders.
Hello,
so,
White House, watch.
I mean, they really wanted the federal government that was going, when it acts, its actions apply to everybody.
Yeah.
They wanted it to do a very few things and do them well, and everything else was basically left to the states, because even at the time they adopted this, in the 13 states, life in South Carolina or Georgia was very different than life in New Hampshire.
Right.
And
right.
And people, even though they weren't as mobile then as we are now, people could still vote with their feet.
Yeah.
You live where you want to live.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, the states can enact measures that give more protection to these rights. They just can't do less. And that is also an acknowledgement of the fact that these rights don't come from the government.
Yep.
The rights pre-exist government.
Yes.
It's natural law. You are created in the image of God, created equal, and endowed with rights by that creator. The purpose of government is to protect those rights, not to say what they are.
No, it's not to say what it's not to dictate what they are. It's to say these are the rights, and it is our job to protect them. That has fallen on deaf ears for like a whole generation. More, I don't know what the outcome, the effect is going to be of that. First of all, you've got a lot of people who weren't taught any of that and don't understand just the basic concept, if you will, of what the Constitution is about and what it stands for and why it's so important. What do we do? And this is a question to answer in the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
What do we do, Laythan, with folks who, and I don't want to say are ignorant, maybe they just haven't been exposed to the Constitution, or
well, I mean,
I don't know. What do you do with that?
Well, I mean, the word ignorance really just means they don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an insult.
I don't mean that mean.
It's not saying they're not intelligent.
Right.
It's just they're unaware.
Right.
They don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'm ignorant of plenty of things. Doesn't mean I'm not intelligent.
Ignorant of anything that's high algebra, past
Right.
algebra 1, physics, no. Trigonometry, no.
But I think, even though I don't believe the Constitution really lays out that the federal government has any role in education, so, I mean, and conservatives, frankly, have talked about getting rid of the U.S. Department of Education for decades and have never gotten around to doing it.
Since you and I have been in politics, that's
Absolutely.
been a big push, and I'm like, And here we are in
Still here.
2021. And you know what? Even
Yeah.
with many cycles of conservatives being in
Yeah.
charge, never happened.
Yeah. So states have the primary responsibility for any sort of public education system.
Yes.
And if we're going to get a better and wider sort of general knowledge of the founding principles that established this country, it's going to have to be required of schools to teach it. Because once you start requiring something and measuring it,
Right.
that's the only way it gets done.
Right.
I mean, I personally think if let's say the Texas legislature decided that as a graduation requirement, you have to be able to pass the same test that people who are becoming citizens pass, that covers history and civics and government.
I think you would have a disaster right now.
But
I think there are a lot of adults walking around right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Voting, posting on Twitter like they're the king and queen of the world.
But if it becomes a graduation requirement and schools are measured by graduation rates, I guarantee you it will get taught.
It will get taught. It has to.
Exactly.
And you know what? The stuff, when you hear from, we've got friends and friends of the show who have immigrated. And, these are some basic things that you should have just been taught. We were taught.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And then, I mean, the other thing is to always remember that if you're a parent, you are the primary teacher of your
at the
kids.
end of the day, amen.
You have the primary responsibility for the education of your children.
Yeah.
And whether you send them to public school, private school, charter school, homeschool, whatever it is, you are still the number one teacher in that kid's life.
Yep.
And especially these days, you have to be uber vigilant about going over what they are being taught at school.
And even at a private school, even at a Christian school, even at a charter school, even public, it doesn't matter. You might just assume, well, my kid's going to this kind of school, and so I know this.
Right.
No, you don't. And you want to be, as much as your job will allow you, volunteer up at those schools.
Sure.
Get to know the principal, get to know the teachers.
At the very least, you got to talk to your kids every day about their homework and say, hey, what are you studying?
Well, and let me see it.
Exactly. If they're going over, if they're talking about the Constitution, well, what are they saying about the Constitution?
Yeah.
Because just teaching a class on the Constitution doesn't necessarily mean they may be teaching your kids, here's all the reasons why the Constitution is an arcane document written by a bunch of white slave-owning Christian property owners who just wanted to protect their own money.
Your kids go, wait,
here's why we have to, basically do away with it.
Yeah.
That's technically, you're talking about
the
Constitution.
You're talking about it. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So, everybody, has to, I think, take a more active role in keeping an eye on what your kids are learning. And
and have those conversations, and then you have to model stuff and have those conversations at home. Now, I hope that my kids will be big voters. So far, my daughter's got a really good voting record since she turned 18. Hopefully my son hopefully they'll realize that's an important civic duty. And my thing is, I'm always telling them, hey, you don't have to be as involved. You don't have to throw yourself into it as much as I do.
Sure.
But if you don't vote and you don't like the fact that the trash man only comes once every other week, or there is no recycling anymore, or libraries are only open one day a week, guess what? You didn't earn your right to gripe if you didn't get out and vote.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't, you're basically you're empowering somebody else to make decisions.
You're literally giving your rights to somebody else. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to decide how much of your paycheck you get to keep.
Exactly. And kids, you want to keep all of your paycheck, or as much as you can. Well, we're so excited to have Senator Angela Paxton back with us for the Senate Minute. She has been crazy busy the last couple of weeks not that she's not crazy busy this week, but in actually voting while we had her segment of the show going on. So we're super excited to have you back. We've got your friend and mine, Laythan Watts, in here as a guest co-host today, Angela. So
how are you?
Well, we're very excited to have you on, and we are just going to let you take the floor and run with it and catch the crew up.
Well, we are on, actually, I just had, I don't know if you can see this. This is the May deadline calendar.
Okay.
So I was just looking over that with Randy, my chief of staff. I was just meeting with Della about kind of what we've got on tap today. And we are, let's see, we are on the 114th day of the 87th regular session. That means we have, now I can't add or subtract, but we're down to like
Never do math live on the air.
Yeah, I mean this is the
yeah.
end. Yeah, this is getting close to the end. So what's happening? What has happened over the last couple of weeks? And then what are we going into in this home stretch, so to speak?
Well, you know, basically what has happened so far is that we have, at least in the Senate, we've been able to file and pass the bulk of the priority legislation that we identified as those top 31 priorities. Our bills are over in the House now. The House has been passing bills. Many of those bills are now over here waiting to go through committee. So a lot of things actually have not done the final thing, which has to happen for a bill to become a law, which is it has to pass both houses. And so right now, this happens every session. There's a little bit of things are a little bit at the leadership level where the lieutenant governor is deciding which House bills he's going to refer committee in the Senate. The speaker is doing the same with Senate bills in the House. And so there, you know, this is where the time of the year when people like me, you know, I talk to you guys a lot about my priority bills early in the session, which we were able to pass. The Freedom to Worship Act, Senate Bill 26. We got it over to the House quickly. The Human Life Protection Act, which would end abortion in Texas on the reversal of Roe v. Wade. House Bill 9, Senate Bill 9, that's over. We got that over quickly. And Senate Bill 26, the Freedom to Worship Act. Emma, the Every Mother Matters Act, which connects women who are in a crisis pregnancy with resources that they may not know they're eligible for, and that might be the difference between them choosing to carry their baby to term or having an abortion. So those are all big deals for me. There's you know, education legislation, all sorts of things that matter a lot to me. I've gotten almost all of my stuff over there. I'm now waiting. So what I want to say as a senator is I hope that with the bills that your listeners and your watchers care about, that they will call the speaker and say, you know, please get this bill moving through the House so it can become law. They've got a lot of deadlines in May. We only have one deadline, really big deadline in the Senate in May, but the House has a lot of deadlines that they have to meet so that something can actually finish the process. And then the bills that are House bills that you care a lot about, if you'll contact the Lieutenant Governor's office, and to the extent that they've already been referred to committee, you can call the committee chairs also. One of the things that I was talking with Kathy Morgan, Kathy, you know, Kathy Morgan,
love her dearly. Yes, great lady.
And she and I were talking last night about this. She said, you know, I'm so glad that when it comes to a lot of this legislation that is a high priority, that I'm not worried about how my state representatives and my senator are going to vote.
Oh, amen. Low maintenance representatives. I love that. Like with you, I'm just like, oh, just wanted to say hi. I hope you're doing well today, because I know you're voting the way I want you to vote. Or, you know, or like I look with, you know, Jeff Leach or with Candy Noble or with Matt Shaheen or Scott Stanford. We're very fortunate, Justin Holland, we're very fortunate that the majority of folks who represent, especially the Collin County area, if you're a conservative and you want less government and less taxes, and you want things like pro-life agendas pushed through, pro-family, pro-kid agendas, we're very fortunate. We don't have to bust y'all's chops.
We really are. Because, and I told Kathy, and this is what I want to say to your listeners as we're going through these last 26 days.
Right.
Even though no one needs to call me and say, please vote for this pro-life legislation. Please oppose this, you know, crazy stuff, right? You don't have to call me and convince me of anything, But I still want you to call or email my office. And here's why. I have my staff tally these things. We keep track of the things that people are voicing opposition and support for. And a lot of what we deal with, I mean, everybody's familiar with a lot of the high profile stuff that we'd all probably consider moral issues, right? But there are some things that they're regulatory, or, they have a, fiscal note to them, or, they might be about a certain business. No matter what they are, if you've got an opinion on that, I want to represent you. And sometimes it really makes a difference that I've got something to look at and say, where are my people on this? Because not everything is, like I said, a moral issue per se, but it matters to my district. So I just want to encourage everyone, even though you don't have to call us and convince us to vote for, your pro-family, less government kind of bill, we still want you to call us and register your position.
Okay,
because
that's good.
Helpful to us.
That's very good. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's so important, because sometimes, especially here at the end of session, you feel like, well, what can I do? I want to support my state rep, or I want to support the governor on this, or I want to support my state senator. Okay, you can literally, and it doesn't take all that long. I mean, I'm assuming, Angela, as Senator Paxton, that you can send them an email, make a quick call, even if you get voicemail. Just say, hey, I just wanted to leave a voicemail. I'm a voting constituent in Senator Paxton's district, and I support Bill blah, blah, blah. I had a girlfriend, Catherine Gibb, who made some video that she directed towards you and Candy. I think she did that with the Heritage Foundation, talking about tightening up some voting laws. And she said, I know that y'all are supportive of this, and I appreciate it. That registers to you and to Candy, who is her state rep, that, hey, I want tighter voting laws when it comes to elections, so we, the people, can feel like our voice is really being heard.
Well, the other thing is, we can go to our leadership and go, look, this is how many calls I'm getting on this.
Yep.
And we can actually, show data, right? And that's really important to people. And actually, you mentioned, just as an example, election laws, but listen, Senate Bill 7 is a bill, that's the election integrity bill that passed in the House.
Yes.
I mean, in the Senate. And as you know, the election integrity legislation in the House is not in the same
been a different story.
Condition,
yeah.
Right? And so we need to pass Senate Bill 7. And I know this is a top priority for Republicans in Texas. And so I highly, highly urge you to please call the Speaker Phelan, in the Texas House of Representatives, and say, please get Senate Bill 7 to the floor.
Okay. And I, you know what? I have not done that yet. I'm going to make sure I do that, and then ping my friends and tell them to do the same thing, because that's something, there's no reason why that we shouldn't have something pass both the Senate and the House and make that that should go to Governor Abbott's desk and should be a no-brainer. Anything that has to do with election integrity, especially after what we saw in 2020. And, I've got people who are like, well, why couldn't we do something in these other states? And I said, hey, guess what? Right now, in the state of Texas, you can do something, because the legislative session's going on right now. So do something about what you can do something about when the leaders are meeting. And
it gets back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, that this is a state responsibility.
Yes.
Elections are a state responsibility, and not the federal government. And each state has the right to ensure that their elections are secure, and they should. Texas may do it a little bit different than Florida does, or Louisiana, or New Jersey. That's okay.
Yep.
Vote with your feet. If you like the way Florida did it better, then live in Florida.
Yeah.
But each state has to handle
Very
this
true.
In their own way.
Very true.
The other thing I want to really light the fire under everyone about is, as I said, we've got 26 days left. That doesn't mean there's 26 days for bills to get over to the House and over to the Senate. That deadline, really, if a bill is not heard in committee in the alternate House by, next week at the latest, that that ship has sailed. So you need to call and you need to email now. Either one is fine. It doesn't, and it doesn't have to be a long conversation. So, I just really encourage that. The other thing, I think we talk about this every week, you can follow any bill, its trajectory through this process on the Texas Legislature online, www.capital.texas, all spelled out, .gov. www.capital.texas, all spelled out, .gov. And I would encourage you specifically to go look at, because this is very easy to do, you can type in Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 2, Senate Bill 3. Senate Bill 1, of course, is the budget, all the way up through 31. And those are the top priority Senate bills that are over in the House. And there you can go in and you can see what that bill is about. And you can call and you can also call and say, listen, Speaker's office, you can say, I want to register my support for Senate Bill 9, Senate Bill 26, Senate Bill 802. Those all happen to be my bill numbers.
So you know those by heart.
Yeah.
All
Pure
very
coincidence.
good bills. That's right. But you can go through and look at those, and you can see where they are. You can call the Speaker. You can call the chair of the committee that they need to be heard in, and say, please get this bill heard and sent to calendar. So I would just really encourage everyone to do that. One other thing, because I'm going to have to hop off here in just a minute. I wanted to mention, if you want to talk current events.
Yes.
I just, as you may know, the constitutional carry bill. We heard the House bill version of that bill before amendments.
Yes.
The original base bill. That's what we heard in the Senate at the end of the week last week. We have been reviewing that. I've been reviewing that, and we are looking at some amendments to it, because we took all the amendments off when we took our base bill. So what they passed out isn't what we started with, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so I just got the proposed amendments this morning.
Oh,
and so I'm going to be hopping off so I can review all of those. But I expect that we will hear the first day on the floor today or tomorrow.
Okay.
But as early as today. You can also, from that website I gave everyone, you can watch committees, and you can watch the action on the floor as well.
Yes, and we've got that up on the screen, and we push that out to members of the crew all the time, because it's so important. Literally, you can, on a lunch break, before or after work, while you're getting dinner ready, you can pull up bills. You can, and it's all at your fingertips and available within seconds. So
pretty cool.
Good stuff. Well, Senator Paxton, we love you. God bless you. Keep up the good work. And then we look forward to seeing you next week and getting an update on everything.
Well, thank you. And as we part for the moment, thank you for what you do to be a voice of liberty. I appreciate you so much, Kathy. And Laythan, it's good to hear your voice as well. And I just want to also ask everyone to please pray as we are on these last 26 days of session. Please pray for us that we would have wisdom and courage.
Yes.
Wisdom and courage, that we would be, especially those who are believers, that we would be really mindful of our duty and our opportunity to do what is good and to do what is right, and to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God.
And I think you can throw an amen to that, and that was just a prayer.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
exactly. I was getting ready.
There you go.
Either that or start passing the collection plate around.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. And you can go to angelapaxton.com. You can get I get her newsletters, which are extremely informative. You can follow her on social media, get updates on a regular basis. She's really good about communicating, very simply what's going on in Austin, so we can understand it here back in the district. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Thank
Thanks, Laythan. Y'all have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
You too. All right, we're waiting for Chuck Wright's going to come on. We're talking a little bit more about the upcoming golf tournament, but let's go ahead and go into is Chuck on yet? Okay, so we'll wait for him. So in the meantime then, Laythan has a little announcement that has to do with the network. So, okay.
So, yeah, I've been on here several times and will continue to be on here.
Yes.
In my day job, working for First Liberty and talking religious liberty issues. But a lot of times when I'm on here, we talk about a lot of other things, and I have to kind of take my First Liberty hat off and say, okay, this is now just the world according to
This
Watts.
is just my opinion.
Yeah. And I guess some of y'all have let Kathy know that you sort of like hearing that. So I'm very excited, very humbled and thankful to JP and Kathy that I'm going to be joining the JPK network with a little show of my own. We are working towards first episode to come out at some point this month.
Yep.
And right now it's set to be a weekly show. They come out once a week, probably Friday evenings. Going to start out with just 30 minutes, just enough time to kind of cover 2 or 3 topics. So it's not a huge commitment of your time. But then,
you'll have some fun with some of these current events and some of the things that Laythan talks about. And he has got if you haven't figured it out already, you will, very dry, sarcastic sense of humor. And it's, so I can't wait to see your spin just on life in general. That's
really what it's going to be. And that's, my goal is not to tell you what to think, but maybe to give you something to think about, hopefully make you laugh a little bit. And so we're going to talk about, a little bit of everything. Of course, we'll probably talk some politics because that's kind of like breathing to me. But yeah, I mean, we'll cover a lot of ground. We'll probably talk some sports. I mean, I guarantee you, if we're still on the air during college football season, I will be talking college football because that's like breathing to me. It just comes out. And, we'll probably talk music. I'm a big music geek. We'll talk some music stuff.
Well, you've got your own band, too.
Yeah. So, JP and Kathy were very nice and just said, talk about whatever you want to talk about. But, the best thing is to talk about what you're passionate about.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, my first 2 passions are God and my family, but those things are extremely personal to me.
Yeah.
And so, I think we'll probably, maybe occasionally, depending on where the conversations go, we might wander into theology here and there. And I may tell you some, humorous anecdotes from my family life. But I am a pretty private person. So I don't expect that those, even though they are the 2 things I'm most passionate about, to really be what the show is about. The other things where I am comfortable talking about those, we'll talk about those. Yeah, we'll talk sports. We'll talk politics. We'll talk music. We'll talk movies. I'm a film geek, so and then just kind of what's bugging me.
Yeah.
The tagline for the show, I think, is going to be highly caffeinated, mildly irritated.
I love that.
So, again, just trying to give you something to chuckle about. I'm a big fan of the sort of the style of some stand-up comics that's kind of known as like the angry comic. And it's just guys that and gals that talk about things that are bothering them. And it's, so even though this is sort of me just sort of untangling my mind on the air, you also need to know it's a little bit of an act too. I'm not really mad about these things.
But it's fun to gripe about.
I would have to, because to be truly angry about them, I would have to care, and I don't have the energy. So these are the things that are they're a little irritating to me, and
I love it. Yeah,
like I said, not trying to convince anybody of anything, to think the way I do. Frankly. We don't need a lot of people thinking the way I do. I would be worried.
And the more you get to know Laythan, the more you will appreciate what he's saying. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. Hope that y'all are. And once we have more details about first show coming out, then you'll see more about it, and hopefully you'll check it out, and then give us some feedback. And like I said, we're going to start out with 30 minutes, probably just 3 10-minute segments.
See where it goes from there.
If people want more, we might expand it later. But yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
Just have a good time, and Laythan, you're extremely intelligent, very well versed, so you're not going to talk about anything that you don't have knowledge on. And then you're also very creative, so I think it's going to be great for everybody to see the non-legal, legal, religion, religious liberty kind of part, to see the real you. I mean, you've got a great personality. You're a funny guy. You're a smart guy. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a great show.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And the great thing about opinions is you don't have to have any knowledge.
Yeah, there you go.
You can just have an opinion.
And there's that. Yeah, like we're always saying, we're not trying to pretend like we're like some hard-hitting news station or news network. We're not. You know what? Now, are we going to, like JP and I, we discuss news. We talk about news and current events, and especially when it comes to politics. But we're not just trying to shove that opinion down anybody's throat. If you agree with us and you want to, chime in, great. If not, and you're kind of the same way. Hey, and if you don't agree with me, I'll appreciate it just as much.
Yeah, you got the right to be wrong.
There you go. Well, I thought we were going to have Chuck Wright. I haven't seen him pop up yet. Can we go ahead and at least put the golf tournament information? Do you still have that for the R.L. Emory, the golf tournament that's coming up? I want to say a week from Friday, I think.
There you go.
Pretty sure. Oh, there we go. The R. Lee Emory Memorial Classic. So we've got that May 14th, 2021 at Bear Creek Golf Club West. I went out there last year. I didn't play golf, but I went out there for lunch and to hang out and to, be there for the pledge and the prayer and all that kind of good stuff. This is benefiting the Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas. And all of the money goes towards that. This is a great cause. Even if you don't play golf, and I know they're close to sold out, so make sure if you're going to register, go ahead and register ASAP. Yeah, it's a really neat course. I had no idea it was out there.
It's right out there on DFW Airport.
I was like, okay. I mean, literally, you're seeing planes flying. It's a beautiful course, so it is a great course. So, anyway, so get out there, support our own Chuck Wright from Kilroy's Conversation. Of course, you can catch him and Andrew White every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. talking all things veterans. And they're really good about making sure that they choose organizations that have good that are a good cause that truly help veterans, because unfortunately sometimes you hear, what I'm talking about, Laythan. Yep. Sometimes you hear of these organizations that not as much of the money as you would like goes towards the veterans, or for whatever reason it things don't work out. But I know Chuck has vetted this organization. This may be one of the groups that we're helping next year for our telethon, for our Veterans Day telethon in November, when we do an all-day shoot again for that. We're seriously looking at this organization because it's just, and there's such a need. And especially during the pandemic, there's even more of a need. You hear of just veterans who are displaced, and it's really been tough, so we're really hoping to help them out. So anyway, so throw some money their way, go out there, grab a beer, meet with some veterans, hang out with some good folks who support the veteran community, and just have a good time. So we can't wait for that. All right. Again, and can you put the picture of my girlfriend's son up on there? And I just got a text from my girlfriend. She said that they're meeting at Vines High School parking lot at 6 o'clock tonight, the West Side parking lot. Bring a car, flashlight, binoculars. So it sounds like they're going to be, we're hoping they're in the area, and we're going to be looking for them. So, yeah, thank you, Nathaniel. We've got the picture up on the screen. And so Amaria and Jacob left Vines High School in Plano, Texas this past Friday. So we're going on, I think this is day 6 then. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So day 6 that they've been missing. And this is just, I feel like we've got so many good people from the crew. And then I know like Coach Quigley and a number of members of the crew who have lots of education ties to the Plano area in particular. I feel like between all the people that all of us know, somebody is going to have seen somebody somewhere. Talk to your kids and just say, hey, nobody's in trouble. Nobody's getting their chops busted. Everybody just wants them home safe. Right. So yeah, Jacob Williams, really good kid, great family, great mom. wanting help getting them home. Pray, whatever you can do to get them home safely. So, and then Laythan, thank you. Oh, it goes so fast when you're in here. It always goes. The show goes way too fast.
Time's fun when you're having flies.
There. See, that's the kind of stuff you can look forward to on Laythan's show. Okay, so there you go. There may be some bumper stickers coming out of that. Well, have a blessed day. We'll see y'all on Friday. Just again, May is Mental Health month. It's also Veterans Military Appreciation Month. So just I take care of those, first of all, who have paid just a great price, who are willing to give their life to protect our freedoms, so we can come to a studio like this a few times a week and chit chat about whatever we want. Our military, they're the ones who protect us. And then Mental Health Month. Never has there been a more important time to talk about it. If you need help, reach out and just make sure your kids are okay, make sure your family's okay, make sure friends of yours who maybe live alone or are now working from home. I've got some friends and family members who, at first working from home was a good time, and now it's like, oh my gosh, please get me out of my house. And all of that can weigh on your mental health. So just take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And thank you again, Laythan, for coming on. And we'll see y'all Friday. Love you guys. The Lawyer Show tomorrow at noon. Forgot to mention that. Thanks.